Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the John Gaunt podcast. Tonight, the question we're asking is, can Keir Starmer survive? Farage says, Nigel Farage, there'll be an election by 2027. He could stay in power till 2029. I don't even think he'll make it to 27. What do you think? And I think at the moment, the person who is in charge of British politics is Nigel Farage. Everybody's copying him. They've had a tremendous party conference, very different to normal ones. But has he now got the agenda? Is Keir Starmer clinging on for dear life? The cabinet reshuffle, to use the cliche, was just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, moving Lammy from being foreign secretary to whatever he is now, Deputy Prime Minister. I mean, how can he or representatives, mind you, how can Keir Starmer, to be absolutely honest with you? But then Yvette Cooper, they're accepting now she's failed on the small boats crisis, but they've moved her to be foreign secretary. As I said 2 days ago, Trump, Putin, they'll eat her for breakfast and spit her back out again. She's not fit for high office. Okay, she's a woman. There was a stupid tweet that one of these liberals, I think it was Dan Hodges, put up. Oh, the three most important offices of state are now all women. When are we going to stop talking like this? Surely it should just be the best people. We don't have to. We made a big fuss. Well, Rachel Reeves made a big fuss about this, didn't she? When she became the Chancellor. Yes, I'm the first woman Chancellor. Yes, and look what a fucking shit job you've done. Sorry. Flipping terrible job you've done. And how come she didn't get moved? I'll tell you what's going on. It's politics as normal, although they're all petrified of Nigel and Reform UK. Why? Well, because Farage has basically taken over the UK politics or political agenda. Reform UK had its conference. The polls now are showing that there was one even about who do you understand the most? And it came out they understand where Farage is coming from more than Starmer. Well, that's because no one knows what Starmer's attitude is to anything. And then, of course, we've now got Tory MPs jumping ship to join Farage, including that stupid woman. She actually went out with a friend of mine at one point, Nadine Doris, whatever, Doris anyway. And she's jumped, but now she says him and Nigel and Boris should form a coalition. Why? It just isn't necessary. And meanwhile, then today, did you see, well, last night in the papers, coming into today, and all the political programmes, suddenly Keir Starmer from the Labour Party, Mr. Uber Liberal, I was director of the public prosecutions, wants to put illegal migrants in military camps and shut down the migrant hotels. Oh, I wonder where I've heard that before. It wouldn't be little old me, would it? So I've got half of what I was demanding on the surface. But of course, with Starmer, you can never take anything at face value. He won't do it. It's just this week's way of getting himself into the papers and people talking about him and his lousy government and not taking the mickey out of it. He doesn't mean it. And even if he did, it won't be army camps like you and I have been talking about for the past few weeks, where they're locked up securely behind barbed wire fences. Oh, no, that would be against their human rights. They'll still be able to come and go whenever they fancy. So it won't really make a blind bit of difference unless you put those camps in the middle of the North Yorkshire moors or somewhere. They'll still be by towns and villages. The only way you can stop this is by not aping and watering down Reform UK's ideas, is by implementing tough, big action. That's what you've got to do. So if you're saying you're going to put them in camps, let's do it. Put them in camps, put them in tents. I've been saying it for ages. Do it straight away. It's not difficult. When there's a disaster, our army goes in, builds these tent cities, away we go. I read in one of the papers, I think it's the Times, what Starmer's thinking of doing is building a load of purpose-built pods. No, must have loads of tents. Put them in tents. But the only way you're really going to stop it is if you stop them getting out of the boats, or halfway across the channel now, and into lifeboats, the RNLI, and the Home Office, and bringing them in. They mustn't even put their flip-flops on the sand of Dover. So any new ones come in, sorry, no, turn around, take the boats back. It's not difficult. It's just where there's a will, there's a way. There has to be a political will. And that's why Nigel Farage also basically has really upset Starmer, because and the mainstream media, have you seen the way they've been appalling? He's promising to rip up the ECHR and deport illegal migrants within 2 weeks of taking over, being in power. And of course, they pulled him up and, you wouldn't be able to do that quickly because, you've got to do it correctly. And he said, well, okay, what I mean is once we got the law through. And now they're attacking him because of that. No one's done anything for 20 frigging years. And now they're picking on Farage because he said 2 weeks when he obviously meant once the laws were in place, if that's the way we have to go. Although I'm all for just saying, no, we're leaving. You sort it out, France and Germany. We're leaving. And if anybody arrives on our beaches now from France, we're sending them straight back. But get the tent cities up now. I said this a few weeks ago, how many more girls need to be raped or sexually assaulted? I'm not suggesting that all the migrants do that. I'm not even suggesting a majority. But we don't know who these men are. And they're largely men. I was watching GB News earlier. They had some lefty on there. He said, no, the majority of them aren't young men and unaccompanied. They're just repeating absolute BS. We can see with our own eyes. So I've got a bit down last day or so because I thought, there's a load of things wrong with that conference of Farage's like that. The stupid woman who dressed up like Gary Glitter and couldn't sing. And then when they did the national anthem, she sang God Save the Queen, even though obviously she's passed away some time ago. But then again, I thought about that. It's not worth making a big fuss about. We've probably all done that because we're so used to singing God Save the Queen, isn't it? So, so I'm not going to get upset about that. I was more sort of amazed that it was so amateurish when she came on and sang the song she wrote, Insomnia. I tell you what, that was a fucking cure for insomnia, that song. If you had a problem, honestly, dreadful. What was all that about? But then there were other bits that were just brilliant. There was a real sense of fun. A friend of mine was there and he rang me up, he texted me and said, it's brilliant, John. It's like no political conference I've ever been to. And I'll tell you what they're doing, just like Trump, they're putting the excitement back into politics, which, of course, all the lefties said, it's like Nuremberg and they're all fascists, they're all Nazis. Are you getting fed up of that? I'm fed up to the back teeth of it. It seems to me the only person who's got an idea and got a pair of balls to actually pull it off is Nigel Farage. When are the mainstream press going to just have to accept it? This morning on, what's that awful program? Laura, whatever her name is, on the BBC. They had a panel, and one of the people on the panel was that woman from the Labour Party who got chucked out, didn't get a seat this time. She'd been put into the House of Lords because she was the one who was snobby about the flag. And of course, now in New Labour, is it called New Labour anymore? In the Labour now, you can't be against the flag. Emily, that's her name. You can't be against the flag, Because, of course, Yvette Cooper, who was the Home Secretary up to 2 minutes ago, she's got union flags everywhere, even in her shed. She's even got a Union Jack, as she describes it, tablecloth. And Keir Starmer's got a flag of St. George in his flat. And I really believe that, don't you? So you can't slag that off anymore. But she's on the panel. So there's Michael Gove, there's her, and there was somebody else who's escaped me now. Anyway, so basically, she was discussing this whole thing, and then she said, "Oh yeah, well the deputy leadership, I'm going to probably go for that." So this woman, she's still there, and that's what made me also realise getting rid of Angela Rayner isn't the end of this. There's going to be a fight back. Keir Starmer is now, whichever cliche you want to use, rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, hold beneath the waterline, whether you want to say he's in a spiral in terms of an aircraft. He can't survive. There is no way, and I want you to argue with me about this. There is no way, I'm not saying the Labour government, I'm saying Keir Starmer can survive. He will not be the Prime Minister by 2029. And I'll tell you who will be. It's Nigel Farage. He's so far ahead in the polls now because he worked during the summer. They all buggered off. He carried on working, talked about police, talked about law and order, obviously organised this fantastic party conference. He's got the people on the ground. They're all working hard at it. He just has to get the candidates. And, of course, he has to take some experience from wherever he can get it. But that Nadine Norris, she ain't going to survive long, coming out with ideas like, let's get Boris Johnson involved. But I don't want you to start hanging up the bunting. Don't go round to Yvette Cooper's. Yvonne Cooper's an old family friend, actually. Don't go round to Yvette Cooper's and ask for the bunting, the Union Jack bunting, and the doilies, and start organising street parties, because Starmer's a lying bastard. You can't believe a word he says. He says we're going to look into putting illegal migrants in military camps. One of his mates in the Human Rights Brigade will already be drafting why he can't do it. And even if they are, it'll be such a watered-down version rather than what it should be. Tough and harsh. It should be tense, and they should be moved there. I keep saying this weekend. It should have been last weekend. It should have been 15 weekends ago. We should never have put them in hotels. But you watch, they'll still be able to come and go. And I also notice how careful they are in their language. And they're saying, and other sites, military sites and other military and other sites. They're still going to use houses of multiple occupation. Well, I wonder whether they will after the verdict comes in, and we've got to be careful. There is a trial going on at the moment, or just about to start again, about the girls in Nuneaton. And those people who were accused of that were in homes of multiple occupation. And it's Farage. I mean, he said, I'm just going to rip up the ECHR and I'm going to start deporting, mass deportation. I see he's come back on himself because he got a bit spineless last week when they said, what about women and children? He said, oh, well, I don't know. Now he's saying, I would deport women back to Afghanistan because the Conservatives are going to do the same. Yes, they've got the Taliban in control, but we just can't take all these people. And still, the BBC pushed this line as if the majority are refugees. They keep using the word refugees. They're not, on the whole, refugees. They're economic migrants. And actually, as I keep saying, they're the kind of people we want in the country if they want to come. They got off their arse, put the flip-flops on and walked halfway around the world. They're kind of the people we need to fuel our recovery. But there is a queue, and a lot of people are doing it the correct way. These people aren't. So you can't let them in. So Farage is speaking our kind of language. So it's hardly a surprise then in this latest poll, people say, well, I prefer him to any of the other politicians. When are the others going to wake up and smell the coffee? And so we've had a cabinet reshuffle. Who cares? It won't make a blind bit of difference. We need a general election as quickly as possible. Do you agree with me? That's the kind of thing I want to talk about today. And has Farage and what you saw at that conference last week, did it give you more confidence that he's got the answers? And do you wonder, or do you think that they can make a comeback? Because I just don't think they can. And I think what we're going to, the old parties, and I think what we're going to see over the next few weeks and months, hopefully not years, is all of them doing watered down versions of Reform UK policies, trying to convince you and me, look, we're doing it, but we're more civilized, we're more polite. We've passed the polite bit. We've now got to make Britain great again. And we've got to do that by putting Great Britain first and putting British people first. I don't think that's fascist. I don't even think that's right wing. I just think that's sensible. What's your views? Going to come to your comments now. Thank you for tuning in. And by the way, sorry I didn't give you much more notice. I just decided about 1 o'clock today I must talk about this, because by tomorrow people in the newspapers will have sussed this as well, that Starmer doesn't mean this. Starmer will not do this. And if he does, it'll be months ahead. Let me just give you this chilling statistic. At least 1,000 people arrived, 1,000 fighting age young men arrived at Dover yesterday. Today, they will all be saying they're claiming asylum to get all their rights and privileges. Out of that 1,000, how many will have a legitimate case? I don't know. Do you? But if you were a betting person, how much money would you put on it? Do you understand where I'm coming from? And all that's happened is that Farage did his conference last week, and I think he caught the imagination of the British people. I think he'd got them already. And now the mainstream media and the old parties, the Conservatives, they're finished. They're absolutely finished. But Labour now as well, they're thinking, oh my God. So what's going to be their rearguard action? And they're so dumb, right? And Starmer has got no political nous. He thinks the answer is to do a watered down version of what Farage is saying. Wouldn't he be better off doing more the kind of stuff that Jeremy Corbyn is putting forward? There's your agenda. Let's get talking. Put your chats down there. If you like what I'm saying, please click the like button. It's 15 so far. Normally we get more than that. Excuse me. Click that. And if you'd like to donate some money, please feel free as well. The little $sign on the YouTube video, click that. Thanks to everybody who's been subscribing to the YouTube channel. It's gone up by about 400, which is just fantastic in the last couple of days. So please keep doing that. And of course, you can also donate at www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt. They're all the ways that you can help. Let's get to it. Jackie Ward, I suspect Starmer couldn't move Rachel Thieves because nobody else wanted the job after she wrecked the economy. Do you know what? I think you're right. It's like that, the vessel with the pestle and the pestle with the whatever. Is it Danny Kaye? That film? No one wants the poison chalice. I think you're bang on the money, Jackie, because he said straight away, didn't he, that she wasn't being moved. That was to settle the markets, because obviously Angela Rayner went in the morning. And what's all this tosh about Angela Rayner? She's great. She's a working class girl. She pulled herself up. Well, yeah. I did that as well. I didn't become a crook and a tax evader on the way like her. I mean, it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. And not only that, it's patronising to the working class by these middle class knobs who have never struggled. I just thought all of that was garbage. Just garbage. She did something wrong. And then, oh, that was the thing. They're praising her for falling on a sword. No. If she'd done that a week ago, you'd have said, well, all right, good on you. And have you heard now? She's getting a 17 grand payoff. There's this rule, which, to be fair to Starmer, they're changing in a few weeks. It comes in a few weeks, where ministers can't take this payoff. Well, it's down to the Prime Minister whether they get it or not. At the moment, listen to this. Listen to this. This is how those self-serving pigs in Westminster feather their own nests, mixing me metaphors. The decision is theirs. Oh, Angela, there's a 17 grand payoff. And of course, they don't forget they still get all the pension, all that. There's a 17 grand payoff because, you've done wrong. Do you want to take it or not? Well, anyone's going to say, yeah, I'll take it, wouldn't they? But it shouldn't be their decision. But that hasn't come in yet. So don't worry, don't cry for me. I'm Angela Rayner. The truth is I never loved you. What a singing voice I've got, eh? Do you like that? That was Evita, by the way, in case you didn't get the cultural reference. Do you know what? I think it's an absolute disgrace. She's getting paid off as well. Oh, and did you hear the siren go off at 3 o'clock? What are they getting us ready for? I don't like the idea of that whatsoever. Wojtek Koreski's on the line. I have a feeling that Nigel will regret accepting Nadine Dorris. Time will tell. I've got to agree with you, Wojtek. I do. An old radio pal of mine went out with her for a time. I can't say anymore. He's dead now. And the two things aren't connected. But I don't trust her either. And she's on the front page of the Mail today saying Boris and him should get together. Well, one, again, that's too little too late, isn't it? I'm not anti-Boris. Well, anyway, you tell me what you think, guys. Pam Millett says, hi. Hi, Pam. Nice to have you on board, my friend. It seems to me, John, that the RNLI and the Border Force are encouraging the illegals by running a taxi service, says Gary Radford. Gary, I've got to agree with you. Although, if the people are in the middle of the channel, you can't just let them drown, can you? But you see, that's the latest now. They don't actually have to get their rubber dinghies onto the beaches of Dover, then jump over with either their designer trainers or their flip-flops on and get their feet wet, because they do get picked up at 12 miles out. As they come out of the French water, we ever so helpfully, if you've got enough boats, pick them up. You see, this is the thing I don't understand. Well, when we pick them up in those boats, why don't we just, they wouldn't know. They'd be so happy to be picked up. They'll all be celebrating. Just slowly turn the boat back to France. Drop them off. Hello, Macron. You deal with this lot. Because we can't carry on being treated like this. There was none of them came for 10 days because the channel was too rough. As soon as the weather got better, 1,000. I don't know what it's done today because the weather's turning now. We can't do this. We've got I wondered why you'd stop commenting. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I've just turned the volume back on. Sorry. I am useless at this. Hold on a second. Let me just check whether that's back on. Audio. Yeah, 1 2 1 2. That's working. Thank you. Right. Can you hear me now, everyone? Just somebody say yes or no. Denise Deacon said yes. Thank you. Okay, we'll get back to the debate. I do apologise. Got loads of people here saying no sound, but because I get so many people, they're right down. So, Pamela said it, Jackie said it, Richard said it, Wojtek said it. Peter Adams says John pushed the mute button. Lord Kilbacken says no sound. I apologise. Pam Millett says, can't hear you. Check your device. Well, I'd like to do that, but I'd only just seen your message. Sound off, mate. So, John, are you talking to yourself? Says Peter Adams. I often feel like that, Peter. I've been on radio stations where I was talking to myself. Right, it's back on now, right? Everybody's got it back on again. Thank you for that. See, before, when I did these before, I had Charlie. Do you remember Charlie? He was like, he wasn't here. He was remotely in his bedroom or whatever. But he used to do the technical bits for me. So if we lost the sound, he'd tell me. Now I've got no one doing it for me. Steve McNeese says you're back. Richard says you're back. Okay, we know we're back now. Can we now get back to... No, we can't, you see. So now it's swamped with people saying, I can hear you loud and clear. Oh, I'm like a berserk amateur. I do apologise. And then people say, it's not difficult what you do, is it? Bloody is. Pete Cunnington, he's got a proper comment to make. Spot on, John. The snouts need pulling out of the trough like weeds in the garden. And reform seems the only answer to bring this country back. Lord Kilbacken says, put another 50p in the meter. You put a tenner or a fiver in, I can afford it. Liam Bream, he's saying reform, and then he's got that little emoji next to it. Is that him taking the mickey? I can't see anybody else who's got a suggestion of how to get this country back. Can you? Steve McNeese says, I can't hear it on YouTube either. Well, that's because I muted the microphone by accident, but it's back now. Digital Corals says, thank you for these shows, John. You've still got it bigly. And he's put a thumb up. Thank you very much indeed. Denise Deacon's taking the piss. She says, I'm sure what you said was very, very interesting. Well, what I was basically saying was they've had a cabinet reshuffle and there was no point because the fundamental problem is the captain's missing, right? Starmer. They haven't got anyone in control. And then also most of the crew are duds anyway. So move them around won't make a blind bit of difference. I saw Andy Burnham positioning himself this morning on BBC One on the TV because he fancies himself as the leader. But they had 14 years to get ready for this. By the same token, the Tories had 14 years of effing everything up. But in the end, that's all because they're self-serving pigs. Angela Rayner's payoff is another piece of the proof of my jigsaw about why I hold them in such contempt. And now, Starmer, in a blind panic, he's obviously, that's his arse cheeks clanging. He knows he's going to be out of power. So now he's doing Farage Light, L-I-T-E. So he says, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put them all in prison camps. Well, the proof of that will be in the eating, won't it? And we'll wait to see. No, we won't. We'll keep on slagging you off because there's no way that he's going to do that, is there? There is no way he's going to do what Nigel Farage is saying. I've been calling. Can you hear me now, by the way? If you can, start making some serious comments because I'm going in a minute. But I've been saying for, weeks or months, I must have a look back at the archive, that we need a national emergency called. You can't have 1,000 people a day. Okay, it's not every day, but you can't have thousands of fighting fit young men. Do you remember what Mike Yardley said? One of my guests who I had on a few weeks ago. He's ex-military, right? And he said he's seen people, these lads, marching effectively. He said it's obvious they've had some form of military training, the way they walk together. He said if you're a military man, you can spot this. Don't know if there's any other military people listening or watching today. Maybe you'd like to agree or disagree. What have we done? What have we done? We've already had one or two girls, 5 offences against them by this bloke who was staying in the Bell Hotel in Epping. And all those women were called far right for daring to protest about it. But there are other active cases at the moment. Will Starmer be apologising if one of those girls eventually gets murdered or has been raped or has been murdered already? Do you see where I'm coming from? Because I'm not having a go at the individual migrants coming into the country. They just want to better themselves. But we do them a disservice, and we do the British public a disservice if we pretend they're all refugees and fleeing persecution, because they quite clearly aren't. But the BBC keep using the word refugee. Them illegal migrants. And don't give me this tosh. An asylum seeker can't be illegal because the moment you claim asylum, your status changes. Yes, we know that. But they still broke into the country. So they've committed a crime. They're illegal. And we're not going to carry on with this tosh, are we? Because again, that's not a way of addressing a serious problem. And that's what we need to do. Maybe we do need to look at our foreign policy. Maybe we need to look at how the hell are they getting all the way through Europe? What is the magnet that brings them here? I know partly it's the English language. But the people in Europe aren't helping the people in Britain, are they? They're just waving them through. And then the other thing that Starmer's come out with from his bunker, because he's not made any address to the British public, which I find amazing, right? Absolutely amazing. He's a coward. But he hasn't even put up his videos the last day or two. He should be telling us what's going on. There's a new deal with Germany, which is the same deal as we got with France. Meant to be one in, one out. So if we get an illegal, we can deport them, but we've got to take someone who the Germans have already processed. I can't get my head around it. Because one in, one out, that's not going to change the numbers. And especially when they say it's actually 17 in, 1 out, right? I remind you, 1,000 people yesterday came in. Lord, go back and look how quickly those Nightingale Awards went up during the medical shenanigans emergency. Well, it was COVID, is that what you mean? We need Nightingale detention centres. I agree with you. There's no reason why we couldn't use them again. You're absolutely right. But they're not going to, are they? They're not going to, unfortunately. But that's what they should do. Definitely agree with you. Just before I go, did anyone, you must have heard the siren at 3 o'clock. I nearly cut my neck off, or at least one of my chins. I was having a shave with me cheap Bico rare razor, and that thing started going, well, what the hell's that? I'm here on my own, you see, apart from the dog. And then I realised it was the siren that they're testing on your mobile phones. And then I read the note afterwards saying, well, what it's all about. Do they know something they're not telling us? Are we about to be attacked by Russia? Gary Radford, Labour are finished, but they'll cling to power for as long as possible. Shuffling the lions from one position to another is futile. That's what I've been saying, Gary. We need Nigel as soon as possible. I agree. And on that note, we'll finish for today. I'm sorry that show got a bit off kilter because of my incompetence. I'll be back tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Try and tune in then if you can. As I say, please subscribe. It's completely free to YouTube. You'll then get an announcement about when I'm coming on, so you'll know when the shows are. It also gives you the access to all of the previous broadcasts, etc., etc. So it's John Gaunt TV on YouTube. Okay. Pamela, yeah, well, I'm glad you've responded, Pamela, to that. She says, I think they do know something that we don't know. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? They must have had this technology for ages. Why are they suddenly testing it now? When we're basically in a kind of quasi-war with Ukraine. If it was an alarm that went off every time another 1,000 immigrants, illegal immigrants, arrived at Dover, it might have some interest, but it's just mad. Darren Cummings says, have a good Sunday, John. Yes, I'll try to. Thank you. Anyway, so going back. So if you want to do that, do it. Subscribe to YouTube. It's free. You can become a member of YouTube. That's as cheap as chips if you wish. And you could also, if you wish, donate a $5, either by pressing, although I don't think anybody's going to today. No wonder, because it's been rubbish. Just press the $ and donate a couple of quid. Or go to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt. Pam Millett says, yes, I heard it. I thought I'd been a naughty girl. It is that kind of alarm. Yeah. When I was in the children's home for a short while when I was a kid, the girls, I can't remember if they were above us, beneath us. They were on one floor, a big old Edwardian house. They were in one floor, we were on the other. And on the stairs, they had a very primitive, it was 30 or 40 years ago, laser beam thing that they turned on at night. And if you went through that, if the lads were trying to get to the girls and vice versa, it used to go off. We found a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. And Laird Kelback, he's finishing me off. Emergency notifications is a psychological operation. Do you reckon? Do you reckon they'll start going off now and we'll have to practice? Maybe. It's weird. Anyway, that's me done. So if you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Hey, don't forget to tell them you love them. I'll see you tomorrow. All the best. Bye.